What is a problem statement? Well, problem statement, as I see it, is one of the most important sections of the first chapter of the research study. A problem statement is designed to suggest a focused opportunity worthy of research. That the problem statement offers perspectives in regards to the severity of the problem and to whom it's a problem. The content of the problem statement informs the reader to help them better understand that the problem is occurring to someone other than the researcher. It's important that people understand that from a problem statement perspective, it's just not the researcher or you, the student, who sees a problem, but it's a problem to other people as well, that it is a significant, substantial problem worthy of dissertation research. A good problem statement is succinct and specific. I like to see no more than 2 paragraphs, ideally, maybe 3 or 4 if each section of the general and specific need to be articulated a little bit more because it's quite the severe problem. But I like to have basically 2 paragraphs. A good problem statement with 2 to 4 paragraphs provides certain types of views for the reader to understand the severity and to whom the problem is for. Think like a scholarly researcher when you're writing this, in a sense that as you write it, start thinking about more so what are the problems, not what needs help. A lot of times people say, well, I want to create a program, or I want to look at why there is no fairness in something. Well, I get that. But what is the problem? Researchers think in terms of problems. Think in terms of problems, not what you want to study. It's important to know the area that you're passionate about, but you have to look at problems and articulate them because that's what will attract a good chair or a committee member or allow you to move forward. More times than not, when people are looking at things, they're looking at symptoms, or they're saying, I really want to study more about why healthy people are more productive. Okay, I can understand that, but why? What's the problem associated with that? The general problem. So I'm going to talk now about 2 different views. In all the work I do in every university I've facilitated at and worked with, as well as my corporate clients, I look at the problem in 2 different ways. I look at it from a general way and a specific way, that you articulate the problem in 2 different perspectives. First is the general problem. The general problem is commonly referred to as perhaps the big picture. It delineates what countries, what states, what industries, or perhaps larger groups that are adversely affected by the problem. In what ways and to what degree is often considered to be the symptom of the root cause. It's important to reflect how society or perhaps an industry as a whole views the problem. The macro problem or the general problem suggests the seriousness of the problem to the many stakeholders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example that I hope you can all relate to. It's very general, but still I think it'll be understandable and help you see the view, the holistic big view. In the United States, small business failures are about 50% in the first 2 years. That number drops to 70% in the sense of how many businesses drop out, or the percentage grows to 70%, if you will, of how many businesses fail in the first 5 years. So the general problem is that in the United States, 50% of the businesses that start fail in the first 2 years, and that number escalates to 70% within 5 years. That's a problem. That's a holistic problem in the United States. You can see that there is information to support that. If I looked into any of the related literature, I can find a lot of information, both current and historical, that suggests that that trend is pretty consistent. Justification of the general problem should be offered in tangible results. For example, I noted that 50% and 70%. You may want to look at how you can quantify it in a sense of dollars or what it's causing society as an industry. You may be able to show that there are some financial data percentages that are good to include. So the idea being is what you want to do is offer the perspectives of the severity. Tell people, what's the pain? In the United States, we know when 50% of the businesses fail in the first 2 years, there's a large cost involved with that. A lot of people lose hope because they started a business. A lot of people go bankrupt. Foreclosures happen because they lost their homes. There's a lot of different things that happen which are painful when a small business owner starts a business and fails. So we look at the pain, we look at the severity, and this is what you have to look at, the hardships of people adversely affected by the problem. What is the pain? I'd like to look at this and say, what's one paragraph? Literally start out the paragraph. The general problem is, and state what it is. Could be the general problem is that small business failures in the United States are at 50% in the first 2 years, and it escalates to 70% in the next 3 years. That's very specific. It's succinct. I can quote that because there's enough statistics out there to do that. Then I create another 3 or 4 sentences to create a paragraph that's at least 3, but not more than 7 sentences long, with perhaps another 1 or 2 different citations from different groups that shows that the problem is more than just noted by one person. In the case of small business failures, there's a lot of research out there that I could find and quote. Ground it in recent literature. And here's an important point. In the general problem, as well as in the specific problem, in this whole section, look at literature that's recent. That means in the last 3 years. That's current. Like my mentees define literature what's in the last 3 years to show that it's current. Sometimes problems that were of the past are no longer valid today. And we know, particularly in the most recent past, that because the business has cycled so much and so many changes have happened since the financial and economic crisis from 2008 through the present year, is that nothing's the same as it used to be. So the idea being that ground your data, ground your literature in recent findings, because that'll help show that the problem is current. Now the specific problem, this should be the next paragraph. And I encourage you to start it out the same way. The specific problem is that. And in the case of what I'm going to use here as an example, this is more the focus view. If we go and stay consistent with that, the small business failures are 50%, escalate to 70%, then in this case, the specific problem is that in Denver, Colorado, the failure rate is 57% in the first 2 years. So what I was able to do is show that there's a problem in the United States of the failure rate within 2 years to be 50%, but in Denver, Colorado, it's 56%. That exceeds the national average. I have taken the view of the whole country and now narrowed it down to a very specific part of the country, one state, one city. And here, so we get the focus view. The focus view is what we're looking for in this specific problem. Here, again, substantiate the problem, pain. This would be what's going on with businesses in Denver, Colorado themselves. I would look at what the failure rates are there, look at some of the reasons that are published about why small business failures are happening in Denver, Colorado. There's also literature out there that suggests why it exceeds the national average. Micro problems should be also substantiated to reflect the severity and where it's focused in the setting. In this case, it's Denver. So the specific, or the very micro problem, if you will, it's very focused. If we're going to talk about the general problem being something to do, let's say, in the IT industry, then perhaps the specific problem would be tailored to an IT company in Denver, Colorado. If you're talking about healthcare, the shortage of nurses, on how nurses are leaving, the burnout of nurses across the country, but your survey population happens to be in Phoenix, Arizona, well, then you would talk about what's going on in Phoenix and perhaps even in a specific hospital in Phoenix, Arizona. Again, financial and percentages are, again, ideal to quote to relate the seriousness of the problem. This offers a perspective in regards to the severity of the specific problem to your survey population. Look at the specific problem being targeted somehow, some way to wherever your survey population is going to be. So in the case of what I was talking about with the small business failures, my survey population would be in Denver, Colorado. It wouldn't be in some other part of Colorado because it's Denver, Colorado that is experiencing the problem. If I'm talking about healthcare problems specific to, let's just say, nursing facilities, I would talk about the specific problem in nursing facilities in a way that makes it natural from this point to go into collecting the data. In the micro general problem, here we're looking for the same thing, to have current citations, 1 paragraph's ideal, and take the literature again and keep it as current, as recent as possible, and again, show the severity of the problem. The survey population for the study will be wherever you define you are going to do your work. And this is what a lot of students don't understand early on, is that the general problem is that big picture, that holistic picture, and the specific problem is very narrowly focused. And it is, in a sense, directly related to wherever your survey population is going to be. You can find a lot of information that I provide or through social media as well.